Take my hand and hold it tight. Look at the paintings, I'll be your guide. Don't stop looking in my eyes. Are you cold? Do you want to sit down?
Oh yeah?
Stop looking at me now. I know you don't care as much as I do.
Hey guys, it's Daniela and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided to show you guys how I manage my financial situations and my monthly income, things like that, just in case it might be helpful for you guys if you're starting out a new job or deciding to move out and need some tips on how to manage your money, because I know I needed to and I had to learn for myself and do my own research. So I began with doing some research and doing some own reflection on my own personal life and thinking about where we go wrong with money, where the problems usually start. So I decided the biggest reason people probably run out of money or end up with no money at the end of their paycheck, always living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about like teenagers, like people my age and my demographic. I'm not talking about, of course, parents or someone with more commitment than someone like me. I'm talking about you just started a job, you're just deciding to move out of your parents' homes, things like that. Because I know it gets a lot tougher than this in the future. But we have a small income, suddenly something unexpected happens, something comes up. Let's say you really need to buy something for whatever event you're going to. You have vet bills, like I've had for a long time, which I've had many unexpected vet bills. I know that experience. So things like that, the unforeseen expenses start popping up and you start not having the money there to provide for those expenses. Also, you're constantly wanting to indulge. You've just got a new job. You don't want your money to go to waste. You don't want to just save all the money. Like, you want to use your money that you've earned, and that's fair enough. That's how we all are when we've just earned some money. So when I got my first job, my first proper job that was paying me, taxing me, things like that, I decided before I moved out, because I knew I was going to move out, I knew I wanted to move out, I decided first I'm going to have a plan. I'm not making any major plans until I know that I am capable and I know that I am well put together to be able to afford things, you know, and be able to control myself. I needed to learn control. I found this idea of envelope saving. There's tons of YouTube videos on it. You can research it if you'd like. There's also different things that people do, like I think it's 50-20-30 idea. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one because I haven't used it personally, but I decided to start with the envelopes because I thought it was fair enough, a good idea. So what I did, I was working at my cafe, the cafe I'm still at now, and because I was living at home, this was a lot easier process to start because I really didn't have any expenses, no rent, no anything. Like if I wanted to go out and buy food or something, that's what I had to pay for. It was sort of very easy to control my urges to buy things. I am not one to buy lots of clothes and things, so it was very easy to control myself with my money. So what I did was I earned. I kept going to work and earning. And every week I would keep that money in my account. I wouldn't touch that money. What I'd do is at the end of the month, so every 4 weeks, I had a designated day every month, or exactly every 4 weeks, I would take all the money in that account, so that would be exactly 4 weeks of pay, and I would go to the bank and I would just ask for notes. Sometimes I would just ask for all 50s or whatever, sometimes I would go there with what I needed, like this many 5s, this many 10s, this many 20s, you know, things like that. And what I'd do is I'd come home, I'd have 10 envelopes or something, and I'd put them in. Every month I had monthly allocations, which I still do now. I have them on my phone that I write down. Monthly allocations, this much for clothes, this much for food, this much for savings, I would do that. But I started saving for rent and for utilities and for groceries. Things like this were all categories I started saving for before moving out, because I knew like I had to have money in there to kickstart me actually moving out. So I did this for 2 or 3 months, and I had enough money, and I happened to move out at that time. I decided I was good to move out, and I had this whole everything under control. The importance of this is that each month, or each time I was paid, I wasn't taking money out of those accounts. Each time I was paid, I wasn't dipping into one account and going to spend it. Because what I did was, for all I know, I was paid once a month. The money that went in every week, I didn't even look at it, because I'm not using that until the month is over and it's time to allocate that money. So I'm just getting paid in the background while I'm using the money that I've already got. So this avoids using money that is for other things that you know shouldn't be used for going to go get clothes, because that's the money for rent. Things like this gave me control, gave me more control than I probably could have done through self-control of just saying, oh no Danielle, you shouldn't use that money, you know, because you always want to dip into that money, don't you? You always want to, suddenly this thing comes up and you need a bit longer to save up for it, but you've also got money in this other account that, like, if you just transferred it, you could save, you didn't have to save up for it, you didn't have to wait, you could buy it right now. Problem with that is then you'd say, oh, that doesn't matter, next time I'm paid I'll put money back in that account. Then you don't have money in that account that you need for the next week's rent. So by doing this, I had money in envelopes. When I moved out, I had my rent and everything in there in case something happens, in case I need to dip into that money for the rent. But really I didn't, I would just get paid each month. So I did that envelope thing for a while. The only problem, and the good thing about it, is I was using money. I wasn't using my card. Because card, I found, to be able to start this self-control, I had to be able to visualize what I was spending. If I wanted to go out and get food, I'd have a $5 note. I could see myself visually, this $5 note is coming out of this envelope, out of my wallet, and it is gone. When it's in a card, it's a lot harder to do that, because it's a card, you know, you just keep tapping it and you keep going, oh, buy this, buy that, buy that, and then later only you check your account and you're like, you realize this money has actually been spent from my account, rather than when you have a physical, let's say, a wad of cash in your wallet and suddenly it's going down and you realize this is something's going on here, like I need to stop spending, or I need to be more conscious of my spending. I find it really difficult when you have a card to be conscious of spending. So I decided the envelope thing was a good start for self-control. I have since then moved on from, instead of having physical envelopes at home, which I have a stack of envelopes just written on them, rent, savings, things like that. Instead of having that physically at home and having to go out of my way each month to like go and get money out from the bank and in specific notes and things like that, I decided that I was self-controlled enough to be able to start doing everything from my card. It made it a lot easier when I didn't have a bunch of envelopes in my wallet, but also the good part of having all these envelopes was that the ones I didn't need for everyday life, they would sit at home. And even if I wanted to, even if I was out and I only had my clothes money on me, and there was that shirt that was just a little more than the money I had on me, I couldn't go into another account, another envelope, because they were all at home. So that was good for self-control. So I've got a bank account and I've opened different accounts in my name. So some of them I have cards for, some of them are just bank accounts that stay online, and I don't really, because there are things like rent and stuff that I'm not physically using a card to go out and buy things. By doing this, I can easily I have one account for where I get paid. That doesn't have a card for it. I never take money out of that to pay for anything. Only at the end of each month, after I've been paid 4 weeks of pay, then I allocate that money to all of my accounts, and then those accounts for the rest of the month are what I use. So right now, I can tell you that I've probably got, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I've got a list on my phone. I've got things like rent, utilities, savings, everyday expenses, clothes, vet bills, because unexpected things can happen. Cat gets sick, cat needs vaccinations, things like that. You want to keep, even if you only put that much, like a very small amount in each month, it's not often that accidents happen. So eventually that money has been piling up for a long time. Suddenly you need an operation, suddenly they need a cast or something like that. that money's been building up, and now you have the money there, whereas instead of having an unexpected thing happen and then you don't know where you're going to get this money from. So even if you think, oh, this is something like, oh, vet bills, not something you really have to worry about, I'll just put $10 in a month or whatever, that adds up, and that can be very helpful in the future, because you can't foresee the future, you don't know what's going to happen. So you always want to be prepared, even for things that are small things like that. And then, so vet bills, groceries, of course, things like that. Lots of different savings accounts for different things, because you always want to be saving, because money adds up. If you don't look at the savings accounts, I don't even think about the savings accounts. I just put the money, the constant stream of money in every month, and eventually you look back, oh, you've reached your goal and you can buy what you needed, or you can go on that holiday, or you can, I don't know what you need. It helps you so much because you have that designated money that you know, I can only spend $100 this month on food or on clothes or whatever, but you're always going to have that money that you've put to rent. You're not going to fall short on rent that month, because you know you've put that money there. You also have to discipline yourself in prioritizing. Some weeks I might not work as much, some weeks I might not make enough money, but my monthly allocations, they're done in their ratios. Of course, things like rent, I put the exact same money in each week because I know that exact same thing. Things like internet bills or phone bills, you know how much you need to pay each month, so you add up for the month. I pay my rent every week, but I put enough in there for 1 month worth, if that's how you have to do it. You can even do this weekly. I just find it's so much smaller little increments of money, like I'd rather just build it up to a month. But things like that you know you need that much and you're certain you need that much, you put in that straight away. That's prioritized. That's the prioritized things. Things like going to get clothes or going to buy yourself something, things like that. If you fall short some months, those are the things you can slightly cut back on, because you know you need to, because if you keep that money there, rent's gonna fall through, pay for your phone's gonna fall through. So I don't add all these allocations up to exactly how I'm gonna make each month, because I know it differs. So I go slightly below my mark, and then each month that little extra money I'll throw into savings, or I'll throw into something that I want that month maybe. Or if I go slightly under, I can deduct from the accounts that aren't things that are essential to my life. But I would never take money away from like the vet bills or the savings or the groceries or rent, because those things, even though in the time you're like, oh, I know vet bills don't need the money, but also I did fall short this month, but I'd rather be paying for something else. You know that you need to put that money in there, because that's the money that's been saved. That money will accumulate, rather than putting it into your everyday account that you know tomorrow you're going to spend, because you think, oh, I've made a bit more this month, like let's go spend some. So you need to prioritize. You need to know what's at the top of your list. So that's what I've done, and that's how I've always stayed. I haven't missed a bill payment, I haven't missed internet bills and things like that, because I'm always prepared for those things. Whereas other things that aren't essential, that you don't really need to be prepared of, if I want them, I often can get them. I'm not crying in the corner because I can't buy that shirt, but I know that I need to control myself. I know that if there is something that I need to save up for, I will save up for that. I won't just dip into another account because I know that money's there, because I know that money is for something else. So I found this so much easier, just because the thought of moving out of my parents' home was so daunting. I was so scared that maybe one week I spent a little too much, and you know, you're not always watching your bank account. You can't think of all these different things that you need each week. You need that much money in each week, and then you can spend the rest, because it's easier to visualize something when it's in different accounts. When it's one bulk, let's say you have $1,000. I don't know if you get this weekly or monthly or whatever, but let's say you have $1,000, and it's very difficult if it's all in one account to visualize this much for rent, this much for utilities, this much for phone bill, this much for internet. and then whatever's left over I can just spend however I want. It's hard to visualize that when they're all in one place. This is why I decided to do the different accounts, because it made it so much easier to see, to just not even have to think about it sometimes, because if you're swiping your card for your everyday account, it's fine. You know that when that card declines and you've spent all the money in there, too bad for that account, too bad you can't go out with your friends anymore for that week or whatever. But you know, even though there's no money in that account, there is still money for your rent, for your other things. There is still all that money that you do essentially need. So it makes it so much easier when you split things like that, whether you want to do it physically in envelopes or on a much smaller scale, just in your wallet, just two compartments. Just if you keep all the money, let's say you keep every month, you take out only the money that you're going to spend physically, and then you just leave exactly how much you need for all your bills in your account, and that gets deducted automatically from your account, and you're only using cash from your wallet that was the extra, and that's how much you use. You can physically see that that's how much you have for that month. And then but the stuff in your account you don't have to worry about. You just have to maintain this progress of don't look into those accounts, don't tempt yourself for your savings account. Even get a savings account. I know there are savings accounts that don't allow you to take out money, only to put in money. And eventually it's great, because although it's a very small amount, those accounts will get interest if you hold them for long enough, saving and put enough money into them. So that's very helpful. That's basically how I've been keeping up, living outside of my house, living with my boyfriend in a home, not being dependent on my parents. Although of course they do help me if I'm in need, if something really unexpected happens that I might not have enough money for, because I just didn't have enough time to save up for them. Of course, I'm in a very privileged situation where if my parents need to, they can help me. I know there are a lot of people out there whose parents who may not have a good relationship with their parents, or maybe their parents just don't have the means to help them out if something like that happens. So I'm always appreciative of that. But I think putting something like this in your life, even if you are like me and have parents that obviously can help you if you need them to, I think it's very good to just teach yourself these skills, because eventually your parents aren't going to be wanting to buy you groceries every week or pay your rent every week. These skills are good for anyone along the spectrum of rich to poor, because it teaches you these things. Like, even if you don't want to do exactly how I've done it, there's many things online, but the main idea is you need to teach yourself constraint. And this money that I'm earning and I'm putting in the hours for, it needs to be visualized when used. It needs to be, you need to justify every use of it in most cases. So I just thought I'd share with you how I did it, if that was helpful for you. If you decide to use it, let me know down below, and let me know some ways how you save money. It doesn't even have to be for everyday use. Just how you save money to go on a holiday, to go on things like this. Even if you just if your bank account is just normal and you're living with your parents, but you know one day you just got your license and you know one day you want to buy a car. Just that little bit of money each month. All you have to do is keep it consistent. I've almost been doing this for a year now, and I started this because I was making an actual amount of money. Before this I was just tutoring kids while I was in high school, so I was just making money to like go out and hang out with my friends. But the second I got a real job and I started to make real money, I decided this is too, not that I was making a massive amount of money, but I just decided this is too much money to handle and to just give myself, because I know I would be reckless with it and I would go eat out every night and I would go buy all these things, buy the new iPhone, things like that. I knew that if I was going to be responsible enough to earn all this money, I had to be responsible enough to spend it, responsible enough to not spend it on everything that comes by. So that's just how I decided. I started early. If you're in a situation where you found yourself in a rut and you found yourself in debt or something like this, and you decided now is a good time and now I need to actually look into how I'm spending money and how I'm allocating my money each month, then it's a good idea to start something like this. You'd of course have to start very small. The problem is you have to have money in these accounts initially to start doing this, because no one's gonna appreciate you not paying rent for a month so you can put money in the account. So you just have to slowly start transitioning into a system like this. It doesn't take too long, maybe a month or two, but as long as you have money in the necessary accounts, then after a month, then you'll have the means to wait a whole month before accessing the money that you've been paid. My main motto is just don't use money you don't have. If you don't have the money, don't ask for a loan for it. Unless you're in a really big situation where, I'm not sure how many situations you could be in, but a very serious situation, maybe you do need all that money this month and you must ask for a loan. Something like that is when you should keep these loans for, and not for going out on a shopping spree. So just make sure you're spending the money that you have and you're keeping and you're being responsible with it is my main cause. So this is more something of my demographic, of course, because life's a lot simpler at this age, although it seems very crazy right now. But I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was really helpful for you guys. Even if you don't use this and you decided to get a few tips from what I've said today, or just wanted to hear my story on how I save money, feel free to comment down below and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Go ahead, jot that thing down to the flow. I've been on the road so long, forgot I had a home. I'm out in Miami, it's celebrity galore. I got what I need, but I always want more.